So welcome again to MComm 281 class. Today takes on a different nature, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But first of all, to remind you that your informative speech is due on Monday of next. Is somebody asking me a question, or was somebody asking me a question, or was that just somebody had it on? Okay, anyways, your informative speech is due on Monday of next week, okay? And there's a little more detail for you. It's a speech where you have to come out, work through the information on some topic of interest to you. You make that choice. You have to do your own little bit of research on that topic. And I'm just trying to find here if I can where the here we are. It's on page 4 at the bottom. You're informing us about something particular. You want to stretch our understanding on something, and so it's important for you to choose the topic and do the research of the topic, develop the speech, and then give the speech, have it recorded on an iPhone or some recording instrument, and then you have to put that on to YouTube. And then what you send me, strictly only thing you send me is the link so that I can watch the speech. Make sure that the link says open to public so that I can see it and get into it. So appreciate you getting that done. So next week, normally what happens in a class where we're meeting together, like in person in the classroom itself, is that these speeches are done in that setting. Usually it takes 3 days for this size of class. Sometimes 2 days, depends, because we don't just give speeches. There are other things that we do. And so that usually we take 3 days in having these speeches, and we can't obviously do that in light of the way we have to do things because of COVID-19. So then I only give 2 days for this speech, and then 2 days later in the semester for the third speech. So normally we give, between the two, we give about 6 days, 6 class sessions, where today we can't do that. We need to give just the 2 sessions and we move on. So I've actually incorporated a little bit more material. It's a little bit different setup. It's not my preference. And it looks like, at least for the fall, it looks like many of the universities in the area are not, Trinity Western has not declared at this point. We're not sure how it's going to approach things. Hopefully we'll know within a week or two, because they're paying attention to what Dr. Bonnie Henry is saying in regard to the fall regarding vaccines being out, and it's looking more encouraging that we are starting to really get the needles into the arms of people, and we're getting there. So we are hoping that we'll be able to meet face to face in the fall. But I suspect that there still will be an element of doing things in the viral in regard to the online stuff. I'm not sure where Trinity is coming down yet. We haven't heard an official decision. I think they're purposely being cautious. The well-being of the student is one of their greater concerns, and legitimately so. So that is definitely something we're waiting to hear about. However, my point is that in class, in a face-to-face setting, next week when you're giving your speeches, we would be doing that together, and it would likely take both Monday and Wednesday, and then the following Monday. to get this done. But we don't have that set up like this here because of doing the speeches online. So next week, again, on Monday, your speech is due, your informative speech, and I will be watching them, and then I will be using the form that we're going to be using today as we talk about that speech that you were to look at. Let me just first of all ask a question. Can you see my PowerPoint with the evaluation form? Can you see that? Can somebody just say, let me know?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Okay, we know you can see it, and we're going to just walk through it. So again, today, the reason we're doing this here is to now take more of the theory that we've been looking at, the science of it, and begin to see it on that form, that evaluation form on the screen. And to really begin to do some evaluating using the theory, using this sheet, which is the material I've been covering in class, to really be able to practice using the sheet. So next week, when I get your evaluations, I'll be filling out this form. I'll write a few things on the sides, but this is what you'll get is a sheet of paper. I will circle the areas, and I will, sometimes I will circle like two of them. Like, let's say I thought you did a, you did an excellent and also a good. Like part of it was in between excellent and good. So it wasn't 100% great, 100% excellent, but it was better than good. So it's somewhere in between. So I'll circle both of them and draw a line between it, or a good and an average, or something of that nature. So this is the form that I will be using. So I wanted you to get to see it. You've got it. You can make hard copies of that. I also wanted to begin to do more integration of the science. This is science that you see here on the screen, materials that we've covered. And now you're taking it and developing the artistic side of things by using the science and following this and making the presentation of your speech. That's more the art. So, and you know, to become great at public speaking takes time, but you need to know the science. And if you hang on to this sheet of paper, or you hang on to this PowerPoint, you could use this in the future and other speeches. So that makes you think through how to do an excellent speech. And does this make a difference? Yes, it does make a difference. It makes a very large difference. So paying attention to this here makes a great deal of sense as you're preparing speeches in the future. So I would hang on to this evaluation form because it captures much of the theory that we have talked about in class. So I wanted you just to see the integration of the science and the art now as we move more to you speaking. The month of March is usually called, for me in this class, it's called the speech month. So usually almost three full weeks are just your speeches. As we go through March and go into these speeches here more and more. So for you to really understand this form with the theory that we had behind it will help you to integrate science and art. This form is also valuable for another reason. In your final exam, I mentioned this to you, I mentioned it again, that your final exam is you watching a 7 or 8 minute speech that I'll send you. Similar, but I'll explain, it won't be this speech that you did just now. And you are going to you're gonna choose a day during the final exam week, or you can choose the last day of this class, or final exam day, a final exam time frame. So there's a whole week for exams. And whatever that day is, that week right after the last day of classes, you get to choose the day. And I'm going to set this up with you, so don't worry about this right now, but pay attention to where you would like to take the exam. You choose a day during the exam week or the last day of classes, this class. You choose the time of the day you'd like to do the exam. And I will be sending you a speech, not the one, the speech that I sent you this week, I used in the final exam for the last year. And you will have to watch the speech, then you'll have to do an evaluation and write up a 1,000 to 1,200 word essay. It's not a formal essay, it's an exam essay in regard to your evaluation. But you can take this form, I don't want it, but you can take this form and get a hard copy. And as you're watching the exam or watching the speech, you can sit there and start circling how you see the person, which can help you. You can watch the speech more than one time. But I'll be giving more instruction about the final exam later. But my point is that this begins to take now the theory we've been talking about all through this semester, and now you begin to be able to see how it is laid out in a structure for evaluating. It's really valuable to do this. It helps break the parts of the speech down so that you can become more developed using the science and applying it to develop yourself artistically in giving a speech. So I just want you to understand, we're going to be doing that. We're going to do it again in the semester. And in fact, if you are paying attention to the syllabus, you will see that in the syllabus, it says, I'm just pulling this out here. It says in the syllabus that next week is the speech week, the informative speaking for the 15th. That's the day you're to have it handed in. And then I spend time not with you live, but with your recording to evaluate your speech on the 15th and the 17th. So I have to have those speeches. On the 22nd, I have another talk presentation to do on language and the spoken word. So that one will be coming on the 22nd. We'll be meeting on that Monday. And then on the 24th of that week, we'll be watching another speech, doing the same thing. I'll send out another speech to you. You'll get this form set up. Just my idea is for you to watch speeches and to practice. Then after that, we have another week of your persuasive speeches that are due, and that ends March. And then in April, I'll be doing an overall debriefing about speeches. I'll be teaching you off your speeches. I won't address any of you specifically by name, but observations I will be making, and I'll reinforce things so that you understand how I see the class doing. On the 22nd, on the 12th of April, you'll be watching another speech, a TED Talk, and you're actually going to fill out this same form. You don't have to, I'll give instructions to that later, okay? And then on the 14th, I'm going to give you a preparation for the final exam of April. And then on the 19th is now you can do the final exam on the 19th if you have the space and time. You don't have any other time frame in the way. Or you can do it in your choice of time in the final exam week. I'll be giving you instructions on that. So I'm kind of letting you know, really, we're shifting our gears now more to here's the theory that we've gone through, and now here it is on an evaluation form. And this is what we'll be using in evaluating your presentations. Okay, so just be aware that this is how we're going to be doing that. Today, what we're going to be doing now is really asking you, and I'm going to literally, I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I only have 10 of about 20 students. I'm just counting those who aren't here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12. So there's 10 students who are here in class, and I'm just going to check, see if there's one more student has shown up yet. Nope. So the students not here will be getting this as a recording, okay? And so you who will be watching it as a recording, all you can do is pay attention to what I'm saying with your fellow students in class here. So I'm going to be asking different ones of you to kind of give thoughts about the introduction, about all the parts of the speech. Okay, so we're going to go through this somewhat methodically, but just awareness of time. And then those of you who are watching it as a recording, then you should have done that evaluation form on the speech by having watched it, and then listen to what I'm saying and listen to what your fellow students are saying about the speech. And you begin to understand the evaluation processing that goes on regarding this. So need to get started on the actual evaluation of the speech. So I'm going to be asking those of you, please, if like you're here in class right now, I'm going to be asking you. So I'm going to ask you to get ready to, you don't have to unmute yourself right now, but be aware, because I'm going to be asking you more than one question of evaluation. And then you'll hear my thinking about this speech, because I have the evaluation of it right here, the same form used here, and you will be able to get another feel of a speech. So let me just say another thing. Sometimes students tend to be kind to each other and softer. The speech that was done by a former student of mine named Dakota Shaw, I also asked her to do an evaluation on herself. So she actually did the speech, then she watched herself, then she took this very form that you have in front of you and she used it. And I'll be kind of giving you kind of how she saw herself. I found herself at times to be a little hard on herself. At the same time, this speech that you watched was one that I used in the final exam the last year. I'm not using it this semester. This will not be one of the speeches that will be given out. I got several, and for the final exam, and you won't know which speech it is, but I'm not going to use this one because I'm using this one in class right now. So I want you to be ready to hit your mute off, because I'm going to be asking you to kind of respond to having watched the speech here, and give me a perspective in regard to your thoughts of what you see in the class here. So I'm going to start with the introduction of the class, of the speech itself. And as you know, there are 5 functions of an introduction. You need to do those 5 functions in your speeches. And I'll be watching for those using this form when you do your speech, and I'll watch it next week. And further, I will be, please be aware, it's not just if you did it, but it's how well you did it. Okay, how effective it was. It's not just enough to do it, but being thoughtful in preparation is pretty critical. So the 5 functions of an introduction are right there in front of you, the introduction of the speech. I've gone through this in class, and I'll be watching to see, did you do these and how well did you do them? Here they are: gaining, maintaining audience attention. Number 2, relating the topic to your audience. As you're going through your introduction, you have to do these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't say those numbers, but you do them. Gaining, maintaining audience attention. That's the first thing you do. Then you need to relate the topic to your audience. Then you need to relate the topic to you, the speaker, and in the process, establish the right to speak on the topic. Number 4, you need to give us the purpose statement or your thesis. Was it there, and how clear was it? Was it confusing or was it clear? And then number 5, the quality of forecasting the organization of the speech. That's letting your audience know this is where my speech is going. For instance, if you're talking about your 3 favorite colors, you wouldn't be talking on that, but the 3 most powerful colors, and you're giving this speech, you would forecast by saying, we're going to be talking about the 3 most powerful colors that impact our lives. Or you might say, let us talk about these 3 colors that are most impacting in our lives. And those colors happen to be blue and green and yellow. I don't know that's the case. I'm ad-libbing there a bit on the colors. So that's really what an introduction is like. Okay, and I've gone through that with class. We've gone through that talking about different things related to that. Now, in this speech, I'm going to ask you if you, I'm just checking here, I'm just checking a note here. If you will be prepared to answer, so be ready to do so. So let's start with the first part, gaining, maintaining audience's attention. Out of interest, I'm going to ask one student. I will go through it, and then I'll give kind of a bit of my response. I might, in some of these, ask more than one student, but I'm going to start with gaining and maintaining audience attention. I'm going to simply ask Agatha, could you be ready? Okay, just kind of tell me, how would you score this introduction? I mean, this gaining and maintaining the audience attention in the introduction. Are you here?
Yeah, I think I would say excellent because she was able to like start with a song, which like maintained the audience attention.
Okay. So what did she do that actually gained the attention? What was something she did that was a strong thing that helped gain audience attention?
Singing,
Singing. Did you expect that?
singing.
Yeah. Did you expect her to sing?
No,
Yeah, I know.
sorry.
It caught the class. Whoa, getting a little bit of feedback there. Thank you. You can turn your mic off. Uh, that really did uh, work. It caught the class off guard. In fact, the last class I just finished teaching, we got talking about that. And I said, did it catch you off guard? And they said, yes, it did. I said, well, was it positive or negative? They said, actually, it was very positive. And this class where she was speaking was in the fall of 2019, just before COVID-19 hit. This is in November of 2019. And she um, did catch us off guard, but everybody really actually enjoyed her doing it. I said, actually, it was a pretty gutsy thing because you have to have a good voice too. And I said, no, I wouldn't do that because the people would either be running out of the classroom, putting their fingers in their ears, or looking at me like, you are very strange for trying to sing. I cannot sing. But she could, and she handled that song, did not a long part of the song, I should say. And she definitely got our attention. Now, remember, in your speech, this is like a 7 or 8 minute speech. You know, you're only supposed to spend about 15 or 20% of your speech on the introduction. Okay, so if it's a 7 minute speech, for the sake of argument, that's 420 to 450 seconds. That means she really has about 90 seconds uh, um, in regard to really do her whole introduction. A minute and a half to maybe even up to 2 minutes. You probably get away with that. Okay, so she couldn't sing the whole song, but she did this and it gained our attention, and she seemed to be quite relaxed in doing it and almost seemingly enjoying doing this. And so, she did it. And what she gave herself a good on this. Like, she evaluated herself, and I gave her a good too. It was solid. It could have gone a little bit further in its development, what I'm thinking, but it was actually a good job. It was a very creative approach. So we both agreed that it was a good attempt, but she could have developed it further. Okay, I am just checking to see if there's a. Okay, I'm missing somebody dropped just left here on me. I'm not sure who that was. We'll find out. Okay, so now Abner, I'd like you to think about how did she relate the topic? How well did she relate the topic to her audience? What did you? How well do you think she did in relating the topic to the audience? Because that's important. Abner, how well did she do? Is Abner not here?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, how well did she do you think?
Uh, uh, Maybe do some research about her idea and
Okay,
topic.
okay. So what score did you give her for relating the topic to the audience? The evaluation form.
Mm,
Did you actually score it or not?
mm, I think not.
What letter would have you given her? The E, excellent, good, average, fair, or weak?
Average.
Okay, average. And you know that that's what she gave herself because she evaluated her speech. I gave her between a good and an average for that. So you are on target with what she was saying of herself, and I was giving her a little bit better score than what she gave herself. So good. Okay, now she related the topic not only to the audience, which is the second part of giving a introduction. She also related the topic to herself. She had to establish her right to speak on the topic. I think I saw Deuce. I think you're here, aren't you? Yeah, Deuce, you're here. Um, how do you think she did relating the topic, establishing the right? Let's see here, relating the topic to herself and establishing the right to speak. How did you see that? Deuce. Deuce, are you here? I mean, your picture's here. How did she do? Can you put mute on? I take mute off. Go ahead.
I'll give her a good.
Good. Okay. I felt that she felt. I felt it was between a good and an excellent. So I'm pretty close to what you were saying. She felt she actually did a pretty good job. She did a very well, excellent job there. So there's, you can see that there's going to be some different positions taken related to that. So she gained our attention. She related the topic to her audience. She did relate the topic to herself, which was a part of what she was called to do. The fourth part of an introduction is the issue of the purpose statement. It is the thesis. It is saying it succinctly, and maybe just 2 or 3 sentences. What specifically? What is the focus of this speech? How did you see that? And I'm going to ask Israel, Amanda. How did you see? Oh, are you here? Yeah, you are here.
Yeah.
How did you see that?
Good.
Good. Okay. What made it good to you? Like, why would you say that? Not trying to trick you or anything. That's great that you saw that. And maybe just to let you know that we both saw it from between good and excellent. So you're in certainly the ballpark of what we're saying. What would be one reason you'd say it was good?
Because she do many work.
Well, I tell you, I'm having a little bit of trouble with my speaker here. It's just okay. I just turned it down a bit. Maybe could you just say that again?
Because she do many work for research I don't.
Okay. So she did a lot of work on her research. So that relates to the right to speak. On the purpose, the thesis. What did she do that made it really clear to you?
The date.
The date.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, it's again in the introduction, this is one important part of a public a speech is really the purpose, like to say something like even if you use that actual language, you can say now the purpose or the focus of the speech is, or the purpose of the speech is to uh, uh, persuade you of the importance of brushing your teeth twice a day, if that were the topic, brushing your teeth, whatever it is. So saying with absolute clarity the thesis, the focus of the speech is, becomes beneficial to the audience. See, the audience is asking questions. They're saying, so what's your gig? And really, first, that gets answered by the way you gain our attention and maintain it. Then the audience says, what's this got to do with me? And that's where you have to relate the topic to your audience. And the audience is quietly saying, so what's this got to do with you? Like, what gives you the right to speak? And that's what you have to do, is establish that you have the right to speak, because you've read books, you've taken courses, you've gone through this life experience. These sort of things all add up to that. And then the people are saying, so like, what's the big idea in this speech? What's the actual purpose? And that's where you need to say, let's say it was brushing your teeth. The big idea is that brushing your teeth is an important oral hygiene responsibility that we should take seriously to maintain healthy gums and teeth. The quality of forecasting, people are then asking, so where's the speech going? And so that's where you say, there are three important thoughts that will help all of us realize the importance of brushing our teeth twice or three times a day. So,
May I ask a question?
yes, who's this? Marianne,
This
go
is
ahead.
Mary. Yeah. Um, I have a question about the how to get the audience attention. So, is it possible, like, to show pictures?
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yes. Okay,
isn't it like?
absolutely. So, Marianne, have were you in class when I spoke about introductions?
Yeah, I was, but I wasn't sure that if it's like appropriate to like not showing by slides like on the paper, like printing the pictures and during the speech like showing them. Is it like appropriate?
It can be, yeah. But what you need to understand in the introduction is that if you're going to show pictures, whether you hold them up or have them on PowerPoint, or whether you hand them out to circle around or you hand them out for people to keep, you have to understand that you don't have a lot of time in a 7-minute speech. So you have to think about the wisdom of time. It's not, it's very appropriate, for instance, to, let's say you want to, and you take just split seconds to gain audience's attention, or whatever part that you were asking about. I think that was it. And maybe you want to speak about the song that in Canada was called Martin Luther and John. That's a song written in 1968. And it talks about four assassinations that took place in the United States. Abraham Lincoln in 1865, John Kennedy in 1963, Martin Luther King in 1968, and Bobby Kennedy in 1968. And so you might have, you might be, let's just say you're talking about the reality and danger of being a public person in any one country. And you might want to do 4 quick snapshots, a picture of Abraham Lincoln and the drawing of Booth shooting him. Then John F. Kennedy, the picture of him in his car as the first bullet hits the back of his head. And then Martin Luther King in the balcony as he is shot, and there's a person pointing to where the shooter had just shot Martin Luther King. And then the picture of Bobby Kennedy, maybe lying on, he was in the, not a restaurant, but a hotel, and had gone to the back part, and there's a person waiting and shot him, and you see him lying on the ground. So, if you did a quick snapshot, if you're talking about this, you didn't prolong the picture, that's appropriate because and it can be very, very effective. But please understand, we're talking about the introduction to the speech. And so if you're doing a 7-minute speech, which you are doing, 7 to 7.5 minute speech, again, I remind you that's up to 490 seconds. And that's not a long time. And if you only have 20% of your speech on the introduction, for the sake of argument, that's a minute and a half, a minute and 45 seconds, roughly. And so in a minute and 45 seconds, you have to do all 5 of these functions. So how much you use a picture is dependent on how you use it. And if it's just in the introduction, yes, by all means, you might have just one picture. You might put up a picture on PowerPoint, and that picture, whatever it is showing the audience, like it might be, maybe it's a picture of a tornado up close, and you're talking about dangerous weather storms, and you need to be well informed about weather storms. And you have this powerful looking, monstrous funnel coming down from the sky to the ground, and you can see some cars inside the funnel. That one picture is powerful. Yeah, definitely you can use something like that, but you just got to be aware of your timing. Okay, so good question being asked. Now I needed to 1, 2, 3, 4. I needed to just push down to the last part, which is forecasting the organization of the speech. I don't think I had anybody. Charlie, what is one thing you observed in this video about how she forecasted the organization, or how did you grade her on that one? Charlie, you are here, right?
Yeah.
So what grade did you give her?
I'll give her a good.
A good, okay. And I would say that she thought she did an excellent job because she evaluated herself, and I thought she had done a good job, between an excellent and a good job. So I think I'm basically in agreement with you. So again, what I'm trying to do is help all of you understand that, in the next speech that you give, I'm watching for these 5 factors, and I'm grading you on all 5 of them. And if you don't have that at all, if you virtually don't do any forecasting of the organization, I will circle it and say you didn't do this, and that's like losing 5 marks on the value of this speech. 5 marks for just the getting a 0 out of 5, 0 out of 5 on that one. And so each one of these gets marked, and then the overall score is calculated. Okay, so please understand in the introduction, I'm looking for you to do what you do to gain and maintain the audience attention, and you need to put some time, thoughtfulness, energy, presentation into this, because now I'm watching. So again, I remind you that on Monday your next speech is due, and I'm watching everything about the speech, how you're doing. Okay, I'm expecting a little bit more from you, because now you got a feel for the theory, the science of public speaking. So you need to work on that. So the introduction is really important. I've mentioned that. So it's a big area. Okay, let's go down to the body of the speech. And I'm going to really simply ask two people to, let's just see here, two people just to tell me how they scored the organization, the transitional statement, and the supportive materials. How did you see that? So let me tell you the two people I'm going to ask. Charlie, you already answered that for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Lute and Marianne. So Lute, let's start with you. What were the scores you gave for organization, for transitional statements helped, and number 3, supportive materials under the body of the speech? How did you mark those? That would be Lute. So Lute, I know you were here. I'm just looking for your. I see that Lute didn't. Lute, you're not here, are you? You were here. Okay. I'm just going to mark then that he left class on me, and so we will go on down here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So let me ask somebody else here. I will ask Marianne. I think you're here.
Actually, yeah. In the beginning of her body of the speech, I was kind of lost her words as she was like her speed of speech was like blah 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 blah, and I kind of lost her words. But when she starts to speak about her personal experiences, actually her decision to impact audience about her personal experience flattered me, and because of that I gave her excellent.
Okay. So in the body of the speech, you're saying at the beginning you were a little bit confused, but as it went along, you got clarity and appreciated the structure. Am I hearing? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. Generally just speaking, her organization and her supportive materials were good from my perspective. And her transitional statements that she used weren't as strong. And I think they could have been stronger and made her speech a lot better to follow. And transitional statements really help the audience to follow you. And that's kind of important. So I'm basically in agreement with what you're saying. Okay. Now, I want to just shift down to the issue of ethos. And I want to ask Onella and Naomi if you each could take 3 of these and just kind of give me your scores. So I'm going to ask Onella first. Onella, on competence, trustworthy, and similarity, what did you have? What did you see there?
I think I'd give her a good because she sounded trustworthy with whatever she was talking about in each aspect, and she kind of made the audience feel some like relate to her in some ways, so like similarity in what she was talking about. And yes, I'd give her a good, in the middle of good and excellent, I think.
Okay, good, thank you. I felt her competence was fine. I gave her a good on competence. I found her being trustworthy because she was vulnerable. She shared a very difficult experience that she went through, as you'll remember in the speech given. And I thought there was similarity. Now let me just kind of go back here on these 3 here. Good, some good comments made, Onella, regarding that. Now, when we start talking about competence, I go all the way up to number 3 on the introduction. Okay, on competence, number 3. And I felt that she did a really strong job relating the topic to herself. She's very specific. It wasn't totally excellent. It could have been stronger, but it was more than good. So it was in between the E and a G. And I felt that she did a very fine job. Now, that's the reason I talked about number 3 in the introduction. You see, that goes down to competence. You see, in the ethos, my perception of you as a speaker is impacted by how you've related the topic to yourself. Okay, let me give that example again from my life. When I started this course teaching you, I told you this is my 39th year of teaching undergraduate studies. I've taught graduate studies. I've been the director of a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and I was the interim director of a doctoral program at Trinity Western University. And I shared that plus my 39 years of teaching, and that I've taught public speaking some form of public speaking every one of those years. So the reason I shared that with you is not bragging or thinking how good I am, but it's laying down the fact that I'm competent to teach this course. I'm relating the topic to myself so that you can see I have competence to teach this. Okay, and she certainly did that. I found her trustworthy. What made me feel that she was trustworthy was as she shared a very difficult experience she had in her life. Now that trustworthiness relates to number 2 in the introduction, relating the topic number 3, relating the topic to herself. That's trustworthy also. And so I perceived her as being trustworthy. Similarity, okay, relates to number 2 in the introduction, relating the topic to your audience. There's a similar connection of the topic to your audience. That's what similarity is about. That means you've done that, trying to help the audience see that by relating the topic to the audience. So those are greatly connected together and are really important to see. So competence and trustworthiness relate to number 3 in the introduction, relating the topic to the speaker. I'm competent. You don't say that, but you demonstrate it. And I'm trustworthy, and you perceive that. And then on similarity of the ethos, similarity, it relates to number 2, relating the topic to the audience. So ethos is a perception the audience has of you. Okay. And part of it's your background, your experiences. That's competency and trustworthiness. And similarity relates to the fact that your audience can have a connection with the topic. So, okay, fairly good answer there. I appreciated your thoughts, Anela. Naomi, regarding attraction, and let me remind you, attraction is not just attractive person, but attractive racially, attractive regarding their sense of their understanding their personality, and attractive in how they presented themselves in front of the camera. That's what that means. Sincerity is obviously meaning saying what you mean, and dynamic is the sense of having energy and sharing. So coming back to you, Naomi, how did you see this gal, her name is Dakota, regarding attraction, sincerity, and dynamic? Are you there, Naomi? Just looking for Naomi here, just trying to see if Naomi's here. Okay. I thought I saw you here, Naomi. Am I wrong? Just give me a sec here. I'm just gonna double check here. would you not stick around? Okay, so it seems like I don't see her, so I guess I'll mark her not as being here. Okay. Luke, let me ask you the same question, okay? How did you, just looking at your evaluation form, how did you see her regarding attraction, sincerity, and being dynamic? Luke, you are here, right? Yebe? Why are people suddenly dropping out on us here? He's not here right now either. That is not helpful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So some people have dropped out on me. Just so if you drop out, you're going to have to either watch this or it's marked as an absence. Okay, so just be aware of that. Amanda Fang, can you help us? Could you just kind of, how did you score attraction, sincerity? Just lost my arrow here. How did you, what in the world's happening here? Whoa, what's going on here?
I'm here. Can you see it again?
No, I just lost, somehow I lost I lost my PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's blocked.
I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out what happened. Here we are, new share. I'll bring it up here again and just, oh, you know what? It literally, it dropped out of my, okay, I'm trying to make this show. It's not showing. I am uncertain what is going on here. Okay. I can't believe this, but for some reason, class, I'm not getting anything here. Okay, here, let's just do this again. I have no idea how this has happened. Just give me a sec. I'm going to try this again. I am absolutely dumbfounded, but my my phone is okay, I'm just trying to get it to come back up, but it's not coming back up. I am sorry for some reason. However, you should have it in. Why is this?
So you can close the slideshow and open it again.
I would have to close what?
The slideshow, the PowerPoint, and open it again.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to bring it back up though. Close it. How do I close it without losing you? I don't want you to.
You can press the next button.
Which button?
The next button, like the left button.
The polls? No. What do you mean by left button? Oh, the left button. I see. Hang on here. Okay, let me try that. No, that didn't work. Well, I apologize. This is a brand new one for me. I have no idea why I am being shut out of it here. Okay, listen, we're almost done here. So what I'm going to do is I'm quite frustrated by this because I cannot figure out.
Sorry. We can use our PowerPoints on the ones you sent on email.
Yeah, you have them on email. Okay.
Yeah, all of us, we have it.
Okay. So let me, in light of this, let me just talk, and you just you hold your form. I'll do the talking now. Regarding this enunciation, I thought she did a really good, strong job there. Her fluency was broken. There were times that she stuttered, etc. So she got an average there. Her vocal variety basically was good, but a few times she didn't have a strong variety in it. So let me just now go down to the bodily aspects. I'll tell you what I observed. I'm sorry, for some reason we are not finding a way. It's not working here. I'm just trying one more time here. I have no idea why this would happen. Anyways, in regard to her gestures, I thought her gestures were good gestures. I thought she could have done more to make them stronger, but they were good. She felt she did fair, not as well. That was her thinking. Her eye contact, she felt she did a really good job. I thought she did between a good and an excellent and a good job on her eye contact. She was looking at her audience. She had an audience about the same size of this class, about 24, 25 students in a classroom. Her facial expressions were either, I felt either excellent to good. She felt from good to average. I felt she was a little too harsh on herself. Her overall movement was good. She really, what overall movement has to do with, it's the movement of yourself physically, but also how your speech moves at the same time. I felt she did a pretty good job there. So I was very, very pleased with that. And then in the conclusion, I thought she had a really good brake light. It could have been a little bit stronger. Now her brake light was less, it was more subtle. See, a brake light is letting the audience know you're going into the concluding part of the speech, and it can be a statement you make, such as in conclusion. Well, then people know you're going into the conclusion. But sometimes people do it by a physical movement, and that's what she did. It was very subtle, but it was a good one. Her instant replay was strong, and she did fine. Her response desired was average overall. Her ending, her upbeat ending was excellent. She did a really good job there. And her quality research, I gave her a G, because she did have research. She did have people who had impacted her, etc. But she didn't totally give the reference where she got the points from of that person, what the person said. You know, it's one thing to say, Dr. Congo said this, but if you had said Dr. Congo in his paper that he wrote for the Journal of Communication or something of that nature, it gives a reference and point of reference where you got the material from. So she did a good job overall in the speech, got a very good grade. And by the way, she was doing this speech and purposely, I told her to do some things wrong. She actually was told whatever she wanted to do some things wrong because I was going to use this speech in a final exam, which I did last semester. I won't be using it this semester. So by the way, coming back to this, in our final exam, you're going to get a speech from a former student. Not this one, we won't be using this one, okay? And you're going to evaluate it. And I have different speeches, so you won't all be getting the same speech at all. And we'll be talking about that later. But this was used last semester and in the summer semester also. I used this particular speech. I'm going to stop class here, but before I do, I apologize. I have no idea. I'm trying to figure out what in the world went wrong here, and that I cannot bring up the my PowerPoint. That's very strange, and I didn't want to start playing around with things too much because we might get lost. Now, let me just go over some things here for you. Again, just to remind you, we are not meeting in class next week. You are sending me your speeches by Monday. I will start grading on Monday. I will be using the same form that you have, that form that gives you that, that evaluation form that, that I used for her. It's the same one to grade. I'll grade your speech. I will then scan it in my computer like I did the last speech and send you that scan. We do meet, not next week, but the Monday following we do meet. And what I'm going to be doing that day is talking through like a topic that we haven't covered yet, that I switched to this time frame. And then I'm also going to send you another speech. We're going to do this very thing again. So not next week, but the following week, we'll have a lecture, and then we're going to do this same sort of exercise again. Okay, so be aware that that's coming. Okay, and I expect you to be prepared to share an observation from the speech. I may take it a little different flavor to how we do it, but we're going to do this. The whole purpose of this is for you to get comfortable with this evaluation form, which is really the material covered in class, which now I'm using to evaluate the next speech. If you have any questions about your next speech, be sure to email me and I will answer your question to the best of my ability. So what I want to say now is that I am completely finished and I'm going to just complete class and look forward to your speeches next week. Remember, you have to prepare them, record them, put them on YouTube, and send me your link. And you do not have to do a written evaluation of yourself on this speech. That was just the first one you had to do. So I'm going to stop now. I trust you have a good weekend. Take care. We will see you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.